A Cuppa Joe Nintendo is powered by the You, Me, and Capri Patreon. We want to say thank you to some people, starting with our Diamond executive producers, Slimer Snarf, Lee Navarro, and Jonathan Brown. Also, our Platinum producer, Robbie Bobby Miller. And then to our Gold level patrons like James Johnson, Gene K, Skinny Matt, Ashley Nicholson, Aaron Gropper, Trucker Sloth, Argo, Ryan Turford, Egg Shen, and Ray Sony Pony Martinez. Thank you everyone for all of your support.
Sean, I'm really curious about something.
Yeah? You miss me?
Well, that's irrelevant. That's not the point.
Okay.
I had to call in another friend to come have coffee with me because you left me high and dry here in the coffee shop.
Didn't even tell you. Tell you.
Yeah, I'm like sitting here like, what's going on? But
super embarrassing.
August 27th is the 35th anniversary of Mario.
Oh snap!
So I'm curious about something.
Yeah.
What is your fondest memories of Mario?
Oh my god, dude, there are so many. Like, okay, so when I think about my fondest memories, I think of, oh, dude, I can think of all of them. Mario 1, 2, 3, World, and 64 are really like where like the warmth comes from.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's obviously, if I played other Marios, oh, even Super Mario Land for Game Boy. Like, I don't even know where we want to start. Like, the Mario 1 was just like this. I had heard about it. I had heard this song somewhere, like between that and Ninja Turtles, I'd heard these things before. And then when I sat down to play it for the very first time, it was like, how am I moving what's on the screen? Like, that's kind of like the era that I remember in. And I don't know if my kids will go through that as well. Because they watch movies, they watch TV on TV.
Yeah.
But like, it's well known now that you play video games, you manipulate what's on the screen.
Yeah.
And so like, for me, like it's sleepovers, man. Like playing as many of the levels as you can get through, and talking about like stuff on the playground. Like, could you jump over the flag, right, and jump into the little castle-y thing and beyond?
Everybody swore you could jump over the flag, and then it wasn't
all the lies.
It wasn't until, but in the Lost levels, you actually could on one level jump over the flag. But
well, because you could break the game by jumping on top, like jumping in front of like the timer and your score points and everything like that. That's why that was believable.
Yeah. Well, not only that, like, I don't know about you, but like, I remember sitting at the lunchroom cafeteria, and I think I was in 8th grade, somewhere like that. We're sitting there, we're talking, and the kid's like, "Hey, did you ever get to the minus world?" And I'm like, "The minus world?" He's like, "Yeah, man, there's this minus world in Mario." I'm like, "No, stop lying, dude." And it's a glitch in the game. When you get,
actually?
Yeah, when you get to the end of level, and it's so archaic how you do it. When you get to the end of level of 1, 2, you have to, you know how you can go to the warp? You can jump up on top and go to warp, but you don't do that. Or you can go through the bottom, and then you go to 1, 3.
Right.
What you do is you get on top of that pipe, and you have to knock out a couple blocks. Then you have to crouch and jump, and Mario jumps up into the wall. And then you slowly work your way through the wall, and you enter the warp pipe area, but you don't run it, because the minute you run it, it pops up. If you can just creep in and jump in the first pipe and go down, it takes you to this swimming level that's -1. And rather than 1-1,
right?
It's just the -1, and then you swim through the entire level. You get to the end, it starts all over again.
Come on,
you keep doing it till your timer runs out.
What is even happening there? Like, that is so bizarre.
It's just a glitch in the game. That's all it is.
But that it even takes you anywhere. That it takes you to very specifically like a water world. That is.
And the crazy thing is, like,
dude,
who finds that? Like, it's such a weird bug.
So specific.
Who finds it and makes it happen? But then later on, obviously in Nintendo Power, it comes out with like tips and tricks, and they tell you how to do it. But just finding it for the first time is just. Even I remember the big one was how to get 100 lives in the original Mario, and that was as well. Like, there's a spot where 2 turtles are coming down the final steps before you get to the flag, and you have to jump just perfectly, so that way the turtle or the Koopa hits the shell, hits the wall, bounces back, and Mario just bounces up and down on top of him. And then when you hit a certain point, you start racking up 1-ups. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going.
That's awesome because they have done something like that in a lot. I don't know if it's all of them. I'm not that well versed in all the secrets and stuff, but there's something like that in 3D World or in 3D Land
3D
as
World.
well.
No, the 3D World it is. Yeah.
And there's also in 3D Land as well. Like there's these points in time where you hit it and it just does that. It's perfect, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, man, there's so many. Like probably one of the more specific memories I have is playing Super Mario 64 at Toys R Us. Like the demos that they had at Toys R Us, and I remember I was there with neighbor Matt and neighbor Ben, his brother, and we were just amazed at the analog stick. Yeah. Like, and my neighbor Matt's older brother Ben, they both went on to be like engineers. They're always so smart, and he was the one who noticed that he's like, if you just push this a little bit, he walks, and then he gets up into a quicker run, and then he actually gets in a run. Like he had such an appreciation for even just that, dude. Yeah. Like just being able to walk around. We would go like try to figure out ways to get to Toys R Us just so that we could play and find more time with Mario 64. Yeah. Because like we never had the systems. We'd always have to mooch off a neighbor Matt to go play some of these games.
Exactly.
So yeah, Toys R Us was definitely it. But speaking of secrets though, like I remember like playing the first one and just somebody like showing me he just jumped in the middle of nowhere and got a star out of it or got like a 1-up, right? Yeah. Like he's like jump in that very specific spot. Like that was beyond anything I could ever comprehend. How do you memorize like these secrets? How like totally crazy stuff, man. It's like 35 years ago was Mario. Was that Japan?
I believe it's Japan, you know. But
we've been playing Mario our whole lives, man.
But the thing for me, you know, like Mario 2 is my favorite 2D. It's my favorite 2D one. And people are like, I've had people like, why? Like, why would that be your favorite? And there's so much. I mean, obviously, there's just so much wrapped in nostalgia. But there's so many levels for me. Like I remember, you can go on YouTube right now. You can watch this 2020 special, and with John Stossel, and he's talking about like trying to find a copy of Mario 2 or Zelda 2 for his boss, and he's going to stay in all these lines, and in doing that, it becomes a story for him where he basically unwraps the whole mystery. But I remember hearing that, like, hey man, 2020 is doing this special episode. You're going to see the first live glimpse of of Super Mario Bros. 2. I remember taping that.
Yeah, dude.
And watching it over and over and over again. And not only that, like, when we finally got it, the fact of, like, there's so many things that are embedded in that game that carried on throughout all of Mario games from there on. So it amazes me that people are like, they bag on that one so badly, but that game actually crafts and creates the future for us with so many things. You know, like bombs and Shy Guys, and the way that like Luigi does the flutter jump, and Princess Peach does the float, and like all these things that like that was such a staple at that time. And not only that, like the fact of like that's the first Mario game where Mario looks like the cartoon version.
Right.
That we see pictures of, you know? And it's like, before that, it was a weird looking, like you saw these cartoon pictures of Mario, but it never transitioned that way with the 8-bit, you know? And then, like, the fact of, like, it's leaps and bounds above.
No kidding.
Like, unbelievable.
Huge sprites you could actually see.
Yeah, man.
And the thing is, like, I don't know about you, like, we're different in age and stuff. Like, were you looking at Mario 2 going, like, this isn't how Mario's supposed to look? Like, I don't know, like, for me, it wasn't that at all. It was like, well, this is just another Mario game. Oh, it was different style because I can play different characters, things like that. It didn't throw me off.
Being, like, an artist, or at that time, I drew every day. So for me, it was like, oh my God, they cracked the code. They figured out how to make characters look realistic. Because even Link...
Realistic, yeah.
Well, I mean, for that area.
No, I know. Yeah, totally.
But even for that era, like, even Link, like Zelda 2. Like, when you go into those side-scrolling moments, and you see the actual, like, moblins and you see like Link, and it's like these are realistic looking characters compared to the art style that they're drawing them in, and it was like this is really like they're figuring out how to do this, and it was amazing. And then obviously Super Mario Bros. 3 comes along and it just takes what is in 2 and just blows it up completely.
Because the power-ups have always been special.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
even from the first time you got, like, a fire flower, it's just like, what? Even, like, he changes color, he flashes a little bit, and you become so powerful. And you're able to do so much more. And they just, like, you kind of went a little bit sideways with that in terms of, like, it wasn't, I don't know if it was really, like, you got the star and everything in 2, but it was really the, like, multiple characters that was special in 2. But when you could fly, like, when you could get, like, sprint up to a P and then you could fly away in Mario 3, and all the secrets that you could discover, and, like, all the things in the sky, like, if you thought there was enough on the ground, it's like, dude, there's so much to find up there. In the first level, it encourages you to do that. Like, you're running around and you fly, and they've got this beautiful way of designing levels where they've got, like, you just follow the coins. Like, of course coins give you 1-ups, but, like, they're really, like, kind of useless. Like, really, but you want to collect them. So they would create these trails, and then you realize, oh snap, there's, like, almost an entire other level up there sometimes. Or if I crouch on this weird, like, white block, I'll go in behind it, and, like, that is so strange. Like,
and you fall through secrets. The background. And
what in the world? Who thinks of that?
Miyamoto.
He's just like...
He's a god, man. He's a god.
He is a god.
Another thing about 2 that really, it starts the trend of boss battles on every level.
As soon as you even say that, the music comes into my mind. Like, as soon as I think about that, it's just like... Birdo? Yeah, man.
Birdo, yeah, man. Yeah, and that whole becomes this whole thing of, like, you're doing these little mini boss battles until you get to the big boss battle, and it's like, it's carried on forever. Like, we get that today, and I think that's why 2 is so special to me. But then, man, when you hit Super Mario World, it is lights out, game changing from then on. You know, because I
do you like World better than 3? Like, is that your?
I like World better than 3. I would go 2. I would go 2 World 3 1.
Oh man. I love this. Is always so hard for me. I feel like 3 just, I don't know, it's like it's so close. It's almost tied. It's like 3-4 probably. And it's not even to make like 2 sound crap. Like it's just probably 3-4-1-2, but it's like they're all right there, man. Like it's not even like this gap in between.
I absolutely know that I am in the bottom barrel, minority with Super Mario Bros. 2. I know that.
But I wouldn't go, like, some people say, like, what are you, crazy? Like, that's far from what I'm saying.
It's wrapped in nostalgia. I know that. You know what I mean? But, like, for me, that's one thing that I just love, plus the vertical levels and all that. So there's so much I love about it. But, like... I
never beat it. That was probably the biggest thing. Like, God. It wasn't popular, like, with... I played a little bit at Neighbor Matt's house, but it wasn't, like... It was always Mario 3 that we would play until the end. And there was something about when we played those at, like, sleepovers that... By the time you got to the end, especially if you didn't use warp whistles or anything like that, by the time you got to the end, it was late. It was dark outside. You weren't supposed to be up that late, and it was scary. Like World 8 is kind of like you can't even see what the next world is going to be, and you're going to get like grabbed by the hand. You're trying to like get over to that. I don't know how many levels there are, like 5 or 6 or something. You're trying to scooch over, and you always get like grabbed over, and that, I don't know, that always kind of like weirded me out. Like the worlds, the maps themselves had a bit of a, like they were a level themselves.
With Super Mario Bros. Super Mario World, I acknowledge that is probably the best that it ever was. In terms of like gameplay, mechanics, everything that they wanted to do was just spot on perfect. The art style was a grand slam. It finally hit this pinnacle, and I loved it. I really did. I just engulfed me. I remember I begged my mom to get me a Super Nintendo, and I got her to agree based on the fact that my brother was a dirtball and just had like stuff thrown all over his room. And then when I took her in my room, I was like, look, all the video games are pristine, they're perfect. And she agreed. She was like, you know what? You're right. I'll get it for you. So
I love it. I love you're able to do that to your mom. Like, just like out of nowhere, just like she must have been already thinking about it. It's like
probably.
You might have done a really good job of selling her on it.
But I knew the problem with getting the first Nintendo, how difficult it was to convince her. I didn't want to run into that problem again with the second one.
Yeah.
So I did what I had to do to beg her to get it. And
smart. You're a smart kid.
She got it. Anyway, we got it. And I remember my brother going away that weekend for something. And my mom saying, why don't you call your cousin Johnny and see if he wants to come down and spend the weekend with you? And I was like, yeah. So my cousin Johnny was big on video games as well. And him and I always played together really well. Like my brother, my younger brother and his older brother got along really well. And he was the younger brother and I was the older brother. We got along really well.
Yeah.
And so Johnny and he'd come over and we would play. We played Mario forever.
Yeah, man.
And it was like, we just took on these missions. I remember playing Zelda together the first time and like him drawing maps and me drawing maps and like,
oh my gosh.
And like trying to figure out how to get through labyrinths. And so like we did the same type of tackle of like this, and with Super Mario World, it was just like unreal, unbelievable.
Well, because the secrets that we keep talking about, like they altered the map, like the course that you took, like the keys and everything was just completely over the top.
Yeah.
Even like things were like magical and things with like that with Mario 3, but like you discovered a secret in Mario World, like the keyhole ate you. You know what I mean? Like everything was just so huge and different, and you'd always want to be like, okay, what's the next path? And that was something that I think happened a lot with Super Nintendo, especially with like the 101% with Donkey Kong Country. Right? You're always wondering, am I actually completing this? And that's where like replay value is just crazy.
Well,
I never cared about replaying that for like the first set of levels, like over and over and over and over again. Like they're baked into my brain in a way that other games just don't do. And I always wonder about that. Is it that the games aren't designed as well, or is it just I'm not like 8 years old playing these things a trillion times over? And like jumping on Yoshi for the first time, or every time after that was just like, that changed everything. There's so much different from 3 to 4, but it still felt like Mario. You know what I mean? Like he still jumped perfectly and everything, and the power-ups seemed to make sense. And the music, but you were looking forward to getting Yoshi.
Yeah, and the music was spot on, man. Like it crushed. I loved when I went the first time, because when you start, you're just used to going right. And you totally skip going left on the map. And then finally you're like, hey, let's see what's over there. And you go left, and then you hit the thing, and all the red blocks start shooting out. Yeah. And like fill it, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like this is secrets.
I've been seeing those gaps.
Yeah. And it takes you to a whole thing. The other thing too was that was the first time like Star World or Star Road.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And you get up there and you're like, oh, this is different. This is crazy.
Yeah, different colored Yoshis and everything. Like even as you say Star World, I just think about him spinning around, just like taking him off. Like, where is he going, man?
It was amazing, man. It was such a good game. And then Bowser's Castle is kind of like this floating island with a Bowser head popping out of it, which is unbelievable.
Even like, what are they, Triceratops or whatever? Like those are like just, they're kind of like rhinoceros, but like they're dinosaurs too. Like the dinosaur theme kind of goes through, and like what a memorable boss. And it's super simple. And once you've seen it, like once you know how to beat it, or even like the tilting, what's his name? Is it Iggy into the fire? You're just like jumping one side, trying to do that teeter totter kind of thing. Super creative stuff that you haven't really seen before.
Again, boss battles. You're right back to the boss battles. You're doing this amazing stuff. So good.
Not always like a hit the guy 3 times kind of thing.
Yeah.
Really, I'm trying to think, like there's a lot of Mario games obviously, but like that one just introduced a whole other way of doing a boss battle. Didn't always have to be hit him 3 times, he's going to be glowing or whatever like that. Like really interesting stuff, man.
Now I remember when All-Stars hit and I lost my mind. Because I was like,
that card's not even fair.
Oh, that thing was amazing. So good. Because you're basically getting all the old games put in Super Mario World graphics.
Right.
And I was like,
and music.
This is perfect. But I remember 64 the first time playing that and thinking, this is never going to get better than this.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. It's the be-all, end-all. I don't think so either. It's crazy. It's crazy. I think that, like, when you look at it and it's like the whole like run anywhere, doing backflips, triple jumps, and all that stuff, it was like, this is nuts for me.
Yeah,
like,
man.
This is just crazy to see. And that one I got like 120 stars. Like you get them all, you do all the stuff, and or 121, something like that. Again, like you say to yourself, like, did I get everything? Do I have everything? Like, it's just these whole
because you could beat the game without 120 stars. That's the thing. But you know there's going to be something if you just do that a little bit extra. And even like getting 120 stars is like, how do you even know that that's the number?
Yeah,
right? Because there's a lot of secret stars that don't even show up. You don't even know that that's there. So how do you know that you're actually done them? It was just like this completely wacky. Some worlds or some paintings or whatever have like 6, some have 1. Like it's so strange.
It's craziness
the way that you kind of get them all, man.
It's you know, of the 3D ones, like obviously I love 64. I thought 64 was great. You know, I gotta be honest, Sunshine didn't really do it for me at all. I know that
I've almost not played it. I played like maybe half an hour of my life. Tops.
I played it. I was pushing through it. I hit a glitch that I couldn't pass this one level because of a swimming mechanic, and the camera kept getting janky, and I couldn't see where I was going. I got so frustrated, I shut it off, and I never played it again.
Yeah.
And listen, hindsight 2020, Nintendo basically came out and said, like, hey, game broken. Like, we rushed it out just because people were screaming they wanted a Mario game on the GameCube. But then Galaxy, so I had left. The GameCube pushed me out of gaming.
Yeah.
I left completely. And then I had gotten the Wii for Christmas with Galaxy. And that took me back to being, you know, a little kid and just
oh my gosh,
playing Mario for the first time.
And like you said about Mario 2, like you saw Mario in a completely different way. I remember having conversations with when I was working at Canadian Best Buy Future Shop. That was when everybody was looking at like PS3 and Xbox 360 and going like, well, those are high definition graphics. Like, what is the Wii got? Like, why wouldn't they make them HD? And then somebody's like, it's not, but like, look at the denim on Mario. Like, look at the stitching. Look at how he looks. I'm like, I guess you don't need. I remember saying out loud, like, I guess you don't need high definition for games to look good.
I was the same, because I remember Nintendo pushing that narrative. We don't need to be HD. We don't need to be HD. And I was like, yeah, you don't look at it. Like, when you looked at it, it made sense. Like,
totally.
Like,
and like now, of course, you look back and go like, yeah, I mean, it'd be great if that was in high def, and you kind of saw what happened over with Wii U and now with the Switch, of course. But it looked really great. And when you first said Super Mario Galaxy, the first thing that came up into my mind is that theme song. Like, it's the music that really just like went to a completely different level, because they'd always been kind of, I don't want to say like held back, but it was always meaty tracks, which was great, especially with like Mario World and 64 and everything. But they went up to like Disney quality orchestra stuff.
Oh yeah.
And that was so special, man.
They killed it. Absolutely, they killed it. And it's one of those things where you see it and you just go to yourself, what is even happening? Like,
why am I crying at this theme song? It's so beautiful.
So good, man. I remember playing that game and just living in it and just loving it. And it was like, this is unreal. I remember my other cousin Jamie, he again, we played games all the time together, and he was huge on Mario. He loved Mario. And he was kind of done with games, you know?
Oh yeah.
And he had a son, and he got his son a Wii, and he started playing Mario, and he was like, dude, I'm hooked. It was during the winter time, so he was laid off of work. He was like, dude, I can't stop playing. He was like, I'm back. I'm back playing. I'm like, dude, it's how I feel too. I can't even believe that this is what's happening right now. And to be honest, like, even when the new Super Mario Bros. Wii came out, that was the first glaze of the new era. And I loved it then. I hate it now, just because it's never changed. You know, you think about Mario games in the 2D sphere, and it's like, hey man, change it up.
Yeah.
Wear different, like, use a different paint scheme on this thing. And they don't. It keeps the same rhythm the whole time. And I wish it would have changed as time went on. It's probably my only knock on the series, is like, it got very stale with that.
Do you think like as like gaming in general, like, this is maybe a little outside of Nintendo as well, but like, do we even have appetite for that? Like, I wonder about that with a lot of gaming right now, where with a game or a franchise or something tries to do something a little bit different, like we tear it down so quickly. Whereas like with the point about Mario 2 earlier was like, we didn't even think that it should be anything but that. It was like, that's the Mario game we got. And I don't know if it was just, maybe there's some other people who are like, hashtag not my Mario.
Yeah.
But like so many of like my friends were just, that was the game. And we didn't even think twice about it. I would just, wouldn't it be great to be able to like go back to that? Like there's an innocence to that. It's just like whatever they want to make, we'll take it, we'll play it, and we're just grateful to have another Mario game. But they're so scared off of that, and the stakes are, I think, quite a bit higher now too, right? Where Mario games got to sell 15 million copies or something crazy like that. So it just scares them away from that.
I think that when you look at things, hindsight's obviously 20/20. You can look back and go like, hey, but I think that for me personally, we've talked about this in the past. It's why I love indies, you know, because they're bold and they take risks like the old school Nintendo used to. And that's what I loved about Nintendo in the 80s and the early 90s, was they were willing to do crazy stuff. Yeah. They were willing to be like, hey man, here's Mario, like you've never seen it before. We don't care if it fails. We don't care if it flops. We're giving you a different experience. And then they just took risks. They
just knew it was great though too. Like I don't even know if there was necessarily like we don't care if it flops. It was the game fun to play? Yeah, was always the focus. There was always something. Even with Super Mario World 2, like even with Yoshi's Island, like I think that game is great. We kind of just like skip over. I think that game is so good. It ended up obviously like branching off into something completely different in terms of like what the audience was for and even what Yoshi was for.
I just hated Baby Mario.
I know, but like I don't know, like it's just a really, it's super clever. And again, it actually is a sequel to Mario World.
It is.
Right?
Yeah,
like it carries the name. It's about as close to a sequel as it gets, and it's just totally different game style, art style. It's all different. And I really, really miss that from, I mean, I think like everybody does.
Yeah.
So you wonder what they're going to do next.
I just hated the crying Baby Mario. That drove me.
You hear it instantly.
I hated it.
I was showing Lincoln it actually not too long ago. We were playing on Super Nintendo Switch, like SNES Switch Online, and he just didn't like get that crying Mario was like something he wanted to go get. Like he just kept like running off, the timers going out, and he just kept like running along. Like you're gonna play this over again, but it's not really how you do that one.
He'll get it eventually. And that's the thing. Like when you look at that transition, you know, like your son loves Mario.
Yeah, man.
Like he is just, that's his boy. Like he is in like that's he runs around with a Mario all the time, and like that's it. Like and that's the thing I think that blows my mind.
Yeah,
because we didn't have that when we were kids. Like Mario was, yes, he was a household name, he was a staple, but we didn't have the affection. Like our parents didn't have the nostalgia that we had.
Right.
And not only that, they didn't have plushies and all that stuff when we were kids.
Well, that's the thing that I was going to jump on, was that we had the game and then we fell in love with Mario.
Yeah.
For Lincoln, like he saw Mario well before he could play Mario. He loved Mario just looking at him. Yeah. He loved Mario hearing him and his voice and the jumps that he does and all the sounds he makes when he jumps and everything. He loves that. And then he's going to get into the games. It's like it was really opened my eyes up to like even just the design of Mario is perfect. Yeah. Like he's perfect. Yeah. He's a little bit plump. He's got this great smile. He's got a mustache that kind of makes him feel like he's a dad. He's kind of, I don't know, he's very like friendly. He's a perfect character when you really think about all the different mascots that tried to take him down over the years. It's like when you really think about it, didn't really even come close. No. Like some of them are actually kind of laughable. You look at like Crash and it's just like, that's your Mario. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like like I don't want to be kind of like fanboyish about it, but I always thought about like Crash at the commercials are hilarious, him at Nintendo and everything, and it's like that's what you got. Yeah. It's like Sonic and then Crash.
That's what you're bringing.
Yeah,
I think hilarious. The thing, as an Italian American, I also love the stereotypical.
Yeah, man.
Like I love it. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's like it's something that I look at and I go like, that's ours. That's ours. That's the Italian. Like I can look at that and be proud of that, because I look at it and I go like, where else in gaming do you get like other than mobsters?
Yeah.
He's not a mobster. He's not a thug, you know, and I love it, you know. And it's a true, to me. It's like, plus, like I remember having like Italian plumbers come into the house and stuff as a kid, and it's so like all of it is just so perfectly nostalgic to me. So
well, you wonder too, like what other auditions would have happened for the voice of Mario, right? Like everybody's seen the video at this point of Charles Martinet, like, and how he came across the audition, and like they sit him down and they're like, okay, so you're an Italian plumber and it's this video game, go. And like he hadn't thought about it like for a second before, and they must have gotten a bunch of like stereotypical like regular voices, and he jumps into like this almost a Mickey. Like his version of Mario is like that high, super high pitch, but you're like, even like Let's Go, super stereotypical.
Yeah, but it was awesome.
It's
amazing.
Mamma mia! Wow, 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 wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's so good.
I love it.
Yeah, breathe complete life into like at such a pivotal moment too, like where they didn't do it again. You know what I mean? Like it's been that voice, that version. From the start.
Yeah.
That I have such an appreciation for that they didn't have to like go back and change or anything like that. Like it's just that's the sound of Mario.
Yeah,
that's it.
It is. Definitely is.
Although the cartoon was pretty stereotypical.
Oh yeah. Captain Lou Albano though, man. Come on. As a wrestling fan, I loved it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But
so good.
All right, man. I gotta go. My mom's on her way to my house. I gotta meet her there. So
tell her to say hey.
I will.
Good.
I'll say hey.
I'm not heartbroken at all that you're leaving me.
Well,
I got things to do too.
You didn't show up last week, so I don't know what to tell you.
Thank you for listening to A Cuppa Joe Nintendo, a production of the You, Me, and Capri Patreon. If you like the show, you can support them at patreon.com/YouMeCapri. A Cuppa Joe Nintendo is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and all of your other podcast services. Be sure to follow Bobby and Nintendo Gurus on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. For everything that Sean does on the internet, follow him on Twitter, @Sean Capri. Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. Also, twitch.tv Sean Capri. That is all. Peace out, Preston.